Hi, my name is Natalie and welcome to my channel Knitting-a-GoGo, and today I'm excited to be talking about another new pattern that I'm going to be making and talk through and show my process. And this knitting pattern I'm going to be making is from the 70s, 1971 to be exact, from this booklet. This particular pattern booklet hasn't actually been in my collection for very long. Several weeks ago I was at a local boot fair. I came across a huge load of vintage knitting patterns and I was super excited because a lot of them were from the 1960s and 70s and were ladies' garments as well. I couldn't believe my luck really. Here's a quick photo of some of the patterns I found on that particular day at the boot fair. And as you can see from this knitting book, I've already marked off a few patterns that I quite like in it. There was one that really caught my eye and I thought would be lovely for the summer months. And the pattern I thought would be really nice was this tunic kind of cardigan pattern here, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that there. And what I liked about it, I liked the lace pattern it had. And also I liked the kind of sleeves, they sort of puff out around the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see there. And then come into a cuff, and that's very much my style, and I thought I can really see me wearing that. And I also quite liked the neckline there, which I thought would work well. This necklace I love to wear, and I've also really liked the buttons, like lots of buttons all the way up the middle here. I thought that was really nice. I thought it would be a really nice thing to make. Here's another photo of it here as well. In this booklet they call it lacy blouse with a delicate air. That's the name of the pattern there. You can see. And in the booklet they recommend using Peyton's Halcyon 3-ply, paternised in white. And it's actually knitted in 4 sizes for this one, or the pattern is written for 4 sizes, so 32, 34, 36 and 38 inch bust. And again, for the size I've decided to make on this one, it's going to be the 34 bust, because I may want to wear it open with some tops underneath just to give it some room. I think if I knit the 32 bust it might be slightly too tight for me. So I thought, well, if I knit the 34, I've got some room, hopefully some room in it. Hopefully that is the right size for me. Again, until I make it, I'm not really going to know for 100%. But I'm thinking in my head, with the other vintage patterns I've knitted in a 34 bust, I think I'm going to stick with that for this particular make. Because I'm not sure there's going to be a lot of stretch to it really. So I think I don't want it looking really stretched or anything. So for me personally, the biggest I would go to is a 34 bust, especially for a cardigan or a cardigan top. So the needles they've stated to use in this pattern booklet is a pair of number 12 and number 8 UK British size needles, which equates to a 2.75mm needle and also a 4mm needle. They've also mentioned that you're going to need a crochet hook, a number 12, which they've actually put in brackets the size of that, 2.5mm. After reading through the pattern, I believe that is just for the buttonhole band. I don't think there's any other crochet in there. And I've got basic crochet skills. I wouldn't say I'm a complete advanced crocheter, but I can do some basic crochet. I have crocheted some garments in the past as well. One was actually a twiggy pattern I crocheted many years ago, a little jacket and skirt that I wore, and then unfortunately I no longer have it, but years ago I used to wear it a lot. But like some people like doing both knitting and crochet, and other people prefer more so one than the other. For me, I prefer knitting. I like the 2 needles more so than sitting just with one crochet hook. But then I have friends who are huge crocheters and they love the whole one hook and not so keen on using 2 needles. It's just your personal preference, I think. The pattern also says I'm going to need 37 small pearl buttons as well. So again, unfortunately, I was unable to source any Peyton's Halcyon 3-ply wool for this particular project. Very hard to come by from from what I can find. Again, this pattern book is from 1971. I don't know how long Paton's made that particular brand of wool for, but either way, like I said, unfortunately I couldn't find it. So I went back to Ravelry, which has a really good database of old yarns and tells you content and everything on them, which is really super helpful. So when I had a look and I made some notes on this, I found that the Paton's Halcyon 3-ply consists of 50% wool and 50% rayon viscose. And the pattern tension is 6.5 stitches to 8.5 rows on the actual pattern over the number 8 British needles, size needles, which equates to 4mm needles. In the pattern for the original yarn, it says I'm going to need 10 1-ounce balls for the 34-inch bust size. So unfortunately I was unable to find the exact meterage of this particular wool, how many metres would be to their actual 1 ounce. I saw that it was around 28.35 grams per 1 ounce ball, I believe. So when comparing it to maybe a 50-gram ball of wool today, although again I'm not 100% sure on the meterage, you could maybe look at seven balls of wool, but I'm not 100% sure. I found this one very difficult to guess or estimate. So I knew for this project I was probably going to have to overbuy wool by several balls just to be on the safe side of making sure I hopefully have enough and I'm not going to run out. The only advantage of using a modern yarn is that if I did run out, I could maybe source some more, although I'm not guaranteed I'll get the same dye lot. That is the only thing. The fact it says 3-ply, that's obviously going to be slightly lighter than a 4-ply yarn, so it's going to be slightly thinner, I believe. And I could only go by a photo again on the database of the original yarn, having a sort of look at it, but without seeing it, feeling it, I'm not 100% sure. I've had to sort of guess a yarn to use. I've kind of had to bring in my hand knitwear design skills here into this, because you may not know, but I have a hand knitwear design qualification, a City and Guilds hand knitwear design qualification I got around 2011, I believe it was, and I went on to design for various knitting magazines over the years and produce my own knitwear designs. But I've always had a big passion project of mine has always been knitting vintage patterns and learning different things of them and just making them, and just because I love the styles of them, they're very much what I like to wear from the 1960s and 70s. So I had to go with my knitwear design and knitting experience sort of gut intuition on this to sort of decide, well, what would I like to make it in now and what do I think will possibly work. And at this stage I've not knitted a tension square or anything, so the needle sizes may change depending on how it knits up. It's, like I've said previously on previous videos, it's so important to knit a tension square to the pattern, and if you can get that right, regardless of the needle size you end up needing to use, then you're going to have a successful knit, hopefully. You're going to have a garment that's going to fit you the way it's meant to as per the pattern. So I spent some time looking through some different wools online mainly. Unfortunately, we don't have a great selection of knitting shops nowadays where I can physically go and visit them in Brighton. They're quite limited, unfortunately, with the shops we do have. We've just had C&H Fabrics, which recently has closed, but as the years were going on from when I used to originally shop there, their yarn section was getting smaller and smaller, which was really sad to see. And it's unfortunately, it seems to be a sign of the current times with shops now closing and going more online. But from a knitter's perspective, it's a shame because you can't. I used to love going into shops and feeling the yarns. There's still some nice yarn shops I like to use in London when I'm up there if I'm visiting, but yeah, I do miss that whole going in and experiencing the whole feel of the yarns and different brands as well, and just looking at the different brands of yarns. So I spent some time online looking for some suitable, what I thought would be suitable wool for this project. I knew that I wanted it to be quite smooth but light, and again something that will complement the lace pattern. And I also decided in my head I wanted a sort of pinky colour, not too intense pink. I wanted like a lighter pink. I felt that's what I wanted for this particular project, because that colour will go with a lot of things in my wardrobe. Again, I'm thinking the combination, what can I wear it with? I can wear it with some shorts and a t-shirt, or maybe just some trousers, maybe buttoned fully up as it is there, and until I start wearing it and seeing it, I'm not going to know exactly how it's, you know. So I've got an idea of how I kind of want to wear it, and some clothing in my wardrobe already that I knew that kind of light pink shade may go with. So after spending some time looking on the internet online, and also I did actually have a look in my local shops, but just couldn't, my local yarn shops, there's a good one in Shoreham and also in Brighton, I just couldn't find, unfortunately, what I needed what I wanted ideally for this project in them. I finally decided on this lovely, lovely wool here. It's quite so luxurious, from Eden Cottage Yarns. And at the time of buying this particular yarn, they happened to have a sale on for 10 balls of this. So I got the 10 balls, because again, at this stage, I'm just not sure how many I need. And I thought, well, if I get 10 and it was in the sale, then that will cover myself. And this is it says a 4-ply, so it's not a 3-ply like the Halcyon, the Painter's wool. But it's quite, I don't know if you can see here, it's quite thin. It's quite a thin 4-ply, I would say. 4-ply is quite, thinner anyway, obviously, than compared to double knit. But I just had a feel for it with my gut, my instinct, that this will be quite nice in this cardigan style. And the content of this particular wool, so it's completely different to the wool rayon man-made fibres. This is all natural. So it's 85% Blueface Leicester and 15% silk. And it feels so soft. And I just love this shade. It's just, like I said, it's not a bright shade. It's just going to be something that I think will go with a lot of things in my wardrobe that I can wear it with. And the recommended needle size, it's got a nice variety on here. It's 2.25 millimetres up to 4 millimetre needles. So it covers the needle sizes that are described for the pattern. And it also mentions a crochet hook on here of 2 to 4.5 millimetres. So I think it's going to cover everything I need. But the key thing I need to do first and foremost is knit a tension square. Until I've done that, first of all, I'm not sure how it's going to look in the pattern. I'm just having a quick look at it now. And it says, in the tension square, I've just got to knit it over a stocking stitch pattern, so it's not on the actual lace pattern. So I'm going to do that initially and see how it looks on stocking stitch over the number 8 needles, which is equivalent to a 4 millimetre needle nowadays. And then I'm going to see if that knits to the exact tension I need, and if it doesn't, then I will, depending on whether it's bigger or smaller than this described tension in the pattern, then I will perhaps change the needle size. But I will discuss that more once I've actually knitted the tension square. But I'm super excited about this project, and I'm actually planning to get it started in the next day or so with the tension square, and hopefully casting it onto my needle, because I'm actually going away on a little mini road trip this week through France and Switzerland. So I thought it'd be really good to sort of have this project on the go for the ferry ride, and then also the trip in the car. So I will keep you posted. So I'm super excited to be making this.
So after a lovely couple of days in the Champagne region of Epernay, my husband and I, along with a couple of friends, headed to Bern in Switzerland to meet up with another friend. My friend sitting next to me loves to crochet, and she was making herself a crochet top whilst I was knitting in the car. The first instructions of this knitting pattern was to make the back of the cardigan. This is what you can see me knitting here. I had to keep a very close eye on the lace pattern whilst knitting to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. It's then got very sunny as we were driving along, so I had to put my sunglasses on whilst knitting. Whilst we weren't driving on the country roads at this point to get to our destination, it was still nice to take in the landscapes at the side of the road on the way to Bern. After visiting Bern and catching up with our friend, we then drove down to Sion in Switzerland, where we met up with some other friends who lived there. One of my friends has a beautiful apartment in the mountains, with plenty of room for us to stay there for a couple of days. I managed to find the time to take in the breathtaking views and continue on with knitting my cardigan. At this point I was still working on the back part of the cardigan and was pleased to see how quickly my knitting was growing. I couldn't help but look away from my knitting to look at those wonderful views of the mountain. For the final part of our road trip, we drove down to Dijon in France and spent a wonderful couple of days in a lovely chateau that was a 10-minute drive from the city centre. I managed to find some time to knit some more at the back of my cardigan before heading into Dijon to explore this beautiful historic city.
So here is the right sleeve with the cuff at the bottom here that I've now fully knitted up, and as you can see there are two sections to this cuff part, and there's also this knitted ridge. There's this garter stitch knitted on the right side here where it's just a knit row on the wrong side that's along here, and basically what that means is, so this cuff looks really long here, but what happens is when this is all sewn together, this seam here will be completely sewn up, and then this will be folded along itself, and there's going to be a crochet border along here once that's done, and you're just going to have that kind of ridge, that sort of garter stitch finish there on each side of this. So it'll kind of, when that's joined, it will sort of look like this. And these will all be, I'll show that a bit later on, but these will also be joined as well, and that will kind of be the cuff finish, and then you've got this kind of puffy sleeve. So if you see in the original pattern on here, apologies, this is a photocopy here, there's this kind of sort of cuff there, the sleeve. So once you've done this, I've also got to repeat this sleeve for the left side, but I have to reverse this shape in here at the bottom. So I've already started that one here, and it was initially started on a smaller needle size, which was the 2.5mm needle, and then for the whole cuffs part of it, for this sort of smaller stocking stitch here. And then when we go into the pattern, you change to a larger needle, which is the 375mm needle that I'm using on this one. So the bigger section of the cuff is on the opposite side, so I don't know if you can see here, this is the right sleeve, so you've got the wide section of the cuff and the slightly smaller one there. They're going to join here, so you've got an actual cuff when the whole cardigan is seamed together. And then on this side you've got the larger one on this one. So they basically reverse one another, so that will sort of sit nicely on your sort of cuffs each side, on your wrists. Now all I've got to do on this pattern is just continue to knit it. So I'm currently up to row, there's 16 rows of the lace pattern, and I've currently just knitted up to row 8, so now I'm going to be knitting row 9 of this pattern. And again, I'm using my photocopy version rather than the booklet. And as you can see, it's been quite well travelled here, because as you would have seen earlier in the video, I've been travelling a lot with this pattern, and so it's such a good idea if you can get to a photocopier or scanner and get this copied for your personal notes. It just really saves the pattern and the quality of the pattern and keeps it all lovely, whilst you can write and highlight and put your own notes on there. So I'm just doing the sleeve pattern, which is slightly different. It's the same lace pattern, but it's slightly less kind of stitches than what was on the front, back and sorry, the front, sorry, what was on the back of the cardigan, and then the sides. So on this one, I'm sort of up on this section here, so I have to do, this is a bit unusual as well, you have to do a yarn forward on some of the rows. So you've got to make sure you definitely do that. And then it's a slip one, knit one, pass slip stitch over on here. I'm just going to try and zoom in a bit more there so you can see that a bit better. And then I knit 5. Like that. And then I need to knit a further 7. And then there's a yarn forward, and I slip one, I knit 1. Pass slip stitch over, and I just continue along the row, just keeping mindful of this lace pattern and make sure it all forms in the same way. So I'm just popping on here now for a quick update. So now I've finished all the sections of the cardigan, so I've got the 2 sleeves, as you can see here, and also the fronts, and also the back. All done, all the lace, intricate lace, all done on the 4-ply wool. Oh, it feels so soft, it feels so soft, it's lovely. Really happy with the yarn I've been using. It's just a real delight to work and knit with. It's just so super soft on the hands, and I think it's going to be so nice to wear. It's just really good. I'm really pleased with picking this so far, but the final verdict will be when it's all joined. So obviously I need to block it all, sew in all the loose ends, weave in all the loose ends. So the other thing that I would need, 37 small, it says here, 37 small pearl buttons. Now I decided to look into the buttons once I started knitting it up, because I wasn't, although it says small, I wasn't really sure what size to use without seeing it fully, sort of the length of it really. And I thought it was going to take me a while to find some buttons, I'll be honest. A lot of our haberdashery shops in Brighton now have closed down, unfortunately, and I thought I would have to do some searching online to find some. But I was really fortunate recently. I was actually on eBay, and there was a vintage haberdashery seller that I like to look through for knitting patterns and different things, for vintage patterns. And I actually came across some buttons they were selling, some vintage buttons, which lo and behold, it's really hard to tell when you're buying online. I do like visiting places in person where you can actually see everything and compare it in person, because obviously the colours on your computer monitors, like settings, can differ to the actual, product you purchase when you actually get it in the flesh. And I found these little buttons on there, so I bought 40 because they were very reasonably priced, and it said I needed 37, but they were kind of in batches of I believe 8 or 6, something like that. So I decided to get them, and lo and behold, they arrived. They've just recently arrived, and I'm super happy. Oh, really hard to hold them up here, but I'm really happy with those. I'm not sure if you can see here. But I've just compared them now to the knitted pieces. Now they've arrived, and I think they're going to work really well. I think they're going to work really well. So I'm super happy with those, and I'm really looking forward to piecing this together or sewing it together. Then I've got to do a crochet border with a crochet hook, and also it says here a crochet border. I've got to work a row of double crochet around the cardigan by the look of it, and then also do a row of picots as well, and do some button loops. So that will be the next thing, which will take some time, I believe, once I've, you know, to get it all nice together properly. But I'm just so pleased I found some buttons. I'm really happy, because I thought that was going to be the challenge, getting the right buttons. And I just can't believe my luck with the colour. I just think they're going to work really well. I had it in my head that I kind of wanted these kind of pearl style buttons. You can see in the packet here. I wanted those, and I did want them in a matching colour. I didn't really want the contrast. I wanted it all to be quite subtle and matching. So I am super impressed with that. I'm really happy, and I can't wait to crack on now with that and get that finished.
And here is the final reveal of my cardigan, and I absolutely love it.
So I'm really, really happy with how this cardigan has turned out. I absolutely love it. I love the colour. The yarn is super soft. I highly recommend the Eden Cottage yarns. They're really, really nice. Yeah, so it was really nice to knit with as well. And this pattern book, it was just, I'm just glad I was able to find a yarn substitute with this, because there's just, oh, so many amazing patterns in here. As you can see there, it's just such a good little pattern booklet from Payton's back in 1971. It's just my style fashion and what I really, really like a lot of the styles of, you know, see, we've got that there. So I was really, really happy with the whole make. It's actually taken me a whole year to make this, because I started knitting it in August last year when I was away on holiday, as you saw in the video. And then I finished it around that time. I think I actually finished it around August, September time, the actual knitting of the pieces. It's all pieced together as I explained in the video. And then I don't know why, it just took me ages to pick it up again and just put it together. I'm not sure if other knitters have this as well, where you knit the parts and then sometimes there's this overwhelm of actually putting it together, because I knew with the smaller needles and everything, it was just going to be, it was going to take a while to mattress stitch all the seams and everything. And I don't know, and then I also knew with this edge in here, as you can see, I had to do a picot edge, which was crocheted. And also on these cuffs, I had to turn them up. You know, there was like a lot of construction, almost like you're sewing a garment, like a fabric garment in a way, with like folding up the cuffs, whip stitching around them, and then doing a double crochet border on them. So there was all this kind of additional detail, like I said, this picot edging, and then putting buttonholes in the picot edging and the crochet. And I can crochet, but I tend to be more of a knitter, so I'm not sure if it's a thought of having to crochet the border and everything, and I thought it would be time consuming. And sometimes I think, personally for me, what I find I can do sometimes is I'll start knitting a garment, I'll enjoy it and knit the pieces and enjoy all that process, and then I'll put it to one side, think, oh, I must put that together. I just knew it was going to be time consuming to put it together, and I think I just sat in a bag for a project bag, and then I was suddenly picking up, the worst thing that you should do really is start another project, but I must have then started, well I did, I picked up another knitting project and started making that, knitting that, enjoying the whole process again of the knitting of it on the knitting needles. And then this just sat there and sat there and sat there. But anyway, it's finally got to a year later, and I'm like, I must finish it. I was having to sort out of my studio. It was in a project bag in the corner, and I was like, why have I not finished this beautiful cardigan? I really want to wear it. Why have I not done it? I've got all the bits to finish it. And it was time consuming finishing it. It took me the best part of several evenings in a week to actually put all the edging together. And then, as you can imagine, there was 31 buttons down the front, and then there was 3 buttons on each of the cuffs, so it was quite time consuming even just sewing the buttons on. So I just used a cotton thread that I then put through some beeswax just to give it some extra support, because I didn't know with these style of buttons whether they would like cut through the cotton or not with the sort of way they're kind of made. So hopefully it'll keep them secure on here. I thought the wool, they might split through that because they've kind of got sharp, like plastic little hole things on them. I don't know if you can see there. So I'm hoping that that's going to work with what I've done. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's super snug. I mean, it's August now, so it's maybe a bit too warm at the moment to wear, but it's going to be lovely for spring. It's kind of got that nice colour for spring, and maybe in autumn as well, or late summer, or in an evening. I love the length, absolutely love this tunic length, and it's just, I just absolutely love it. And I'm so pleased I made it, and I can just see me wearing it a lot with trousers, maybe some longer dresses. I just think, and maybe even shorts, as like a wrap over, like on the beach. It's just going to be very versatile, and definitely one of my things in my wardrobe that I can mix and match with so many things, which is great when the actual process of the knitting took some time, from the actual knitting through to, like I said, just putting it all together and doing the edging on the buttonholes and everything. So thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please feel free to click the like button, and also you can subscribe to my channel as well, where I'll be posting more vintage knitting makes, mainly from the 60s and 70s, and also I'll be updating people on my small holding. You might want to check some previous videos where I've talked about that with my sheep, and also I'll be talking about my process through designing knitwear, because I'm a knitwear designer, so I will be posting some videos on that soon as well. So once again, thanks for watching.